Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode number 41. The show where we dish out Linux in a haphazard yet organized fashion. And we hope you guys can get something out of the show, digest it, learn a little bit about Linux here and there, and just hopefully enrich your life with the Linux goodness that we will try to inject into it. And to help me do that, I would like to introduce the man who is and will always be, no matter what anybody says, the Linux maven. It's the door-to-door geek, Steve McLaughlin. What's up, Door?
I thought you were inviting someone else there for a second. I'm doing pretty good, Steve. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I wanted to give you credit as the maven. And I'll tell you why I didn't call you the maven in the last couple shows. Every time I called you the maven, you got a little too modest about it. You're like, look, I'm not an expert here. But the maven is just the maven, so I'm going to call you that from now on. I hope you don't mind.
I don't mind. I think it's I think it's better than calling someone a guru or an expert or a master.
I agree.
But master of the universe would also, I think, be very cool. But I'm not shooting that high. Well,
you'd have to hold your laptop over your head and say, "I have the power."
I know, and I don't have the power. I actually have a bad shoulder, so might hurt.
That's so funny.
Skateboarding and youth, really? Not a good combination.
Door's try to hold it over his shoulder, hurt shoulder. I have the forget it.
Exactly.
All right, man. Well, I see that the notes are here, and we should just why don't we just start going over them? I'm interested in the first one, which I thought about buying all week and have not done yet. So why don't you start us off?
Well, I'll say you got 7 days left. I will say the very first game, Trine, T-R-I-N-E, is getting the best reviews by far.
We're talking about...
Oh, I'm sorry.
The humblebundle.com. Or, no, humblebundle.com.
Yeah. What this essentially is, it's a set of independent game makers collaborating together, offering 5 games that are totally cross-platform for any price you want to pay. And by default, the money goes to also 2 charities, EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And if you have never heard of them, come out from the rock. Come on. It's actually kind of nice out here. Go check out EFF.org. They are, in my eyes, a very important organization for base freedoms on our electronic world we call the intertubes.
What's their major function?
Their major function is to basically devote time and resources, i.e. lawyers, to help protect people's personal, private rights on the internet. And basically, they're like defenders of freedom. They want the internet tubes to be unclogged and unbiased by providers or by anybody else. They also keep an eye on the government to make sure the government is doing the right things in the eyes of electronic freedoms.
Right.
I'm not going to say they're perfect, but I think they're a very good organization. Another organization is called Child's Play. They basically help with getting poor families in poor places around the world video games, from what I understood. Okay. And then there's the Humble Tip, which is actually the organization bringing this all together.
Well, why is it, was it always the Humble Frozen Byte bundle? And I didn't see that last time we pulled up the site.
No, the Frozen Byte is the company behind Trine. So this time it's called the Humble Frozen Byte bundle.
Or are they supporting them somehow financially?
Well, a portion of the money by default does go to the Frozen Byte company, almost half of the money that you pay. But like you said on the last show, you can slide and adjust where your money is going to.
Right.
If you want, you can give none of the money to the Frozen Byte company and give it all to the EFF, or all to Child's Play, or some to the EFF and some to Humble. You can basically put your money wherever you want to put it.
Okay.
Kind of thing. And one thing I want to make a note of before I forget, because I forgot last time, not only do you get totally cross-platform games with one price, one fee, unless, of course, you want to pay multiple times, you get 5 video games that will all run on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Each game independently is about $50 off the shelf price. So technically, you're getting $250 worth of games. Okay, here's the other kicker. I know Trine, that game, you can also play on Live. Now, on Live, for the people that don't know about it, the best way I can explain this is back in the day, 20 years ago, when you went into a government building and all the walls were completely tan and they were like covered with smoke grit because they used to smoke in buildings, people used to work at computers called dumb terminals. All they were a stupid box, as cheap as you could make, stupid box that basically did all of the processing and all of the work back on a mainframe server. And the person would just sit there and type, and everything that was actually happening was actually going on back on that server. That's kind of like what On Live is. On Live, you can get a little box that will sit next to your TV, or you can get plugins for your browsers that will let you play video games on any piece of hardware. Now, that little box that you can get by your TV is stupid weak. And, it isn't like it could run an advanced operating system because it is so tiny and weak. Your phone's more powerful than it.
No, it's that dumb?
It is that dumb. All of the processing that's actually going on is back on the intertubes on massive servers. So when you're playing the game, you're hitting the control pads and stuff. That signal is being caught, goes back up to the server, and actually processed on that server. Now, it is suggested you have like more than 2 megabits. I think it was 2 megabits up and at least 6 megabits down to really fully take advantage of this.
Yeah, it's all about the download. That's where you need your power.
Because the upload, you're just sending little bits of control sets. Technically speaking, the higher you have that, it's still good. But all you're setting up is little bits. All that is coming down is kind of like a telnet session of a screen. And it's like the reaction that's being done to you hitting the buttons. So you need massive, constant, smooth download speeds. But with one price, you not only get Mac, you not only get Linux, you not only get Windows, you get On Live support. So that's something I forgot to mention last week, and I'm kind of upset myself that I forgot to mention it. But there's still 6 days left from Tuesday the 19th, April the 19th. So the 25th.
That's the time left for the Humble Frozen Bite bundle.
Yes.
Cool. Did you get it, Dor?
Not yet. I'm smooth talking to you, wifey poo. Cool. Now I'll say last time they made, I believe it was in excess of $1.2 million. Okay. This has been going on for, I want to say 7 days. They have sold 137,000 bundles, for a total of $691,000. Okay. Once again, we're going to hit these numbers. And the only constant is these numbers are going to change, but it ain't going to change by a whole lot, okay?
Where do you see the numbers?
About halfway down that main page above where you do the sliders.
Okay.
Okay. The average purchase price is $5.06. If you cannot afford $5.06 for a little bit of entertainment, I'm sorry. I really am sorry. But it's, come on. And if you yourself don't play games, get it for your nephew or for your cousin when they come over your house. They'll think you're cool. Okay. The average purchase price is $5.06. The average Windows user is spending $4.06.
Okay.
I'll say part of the reason they're paying that little amount of money is because every 6 to 9 months they have to pay someone like me to clean the viruses off their computer.
Okay.
I'm just saying. The average Mac user is spending $6.32. That's one less turtleneck every couple weeks, so that ain't that much. The average Linux person is spending $11.70. That's almost twice as much as anybody else. And the part I love is this is from the operating system that everybody claims hardcore that the only people that run Linux are the cheap people that don't want to pay for nothing. Obviously, we do want to pay for stuff, but we want to choose what we pay for, I think, is the real.
This happened last year, too.
Yeah.
That's an incredible average for offering something for free and seeing what people pay, I think.
I do think it basically sets a precedence for almost a new economic model for some software. I could picture like LibreOffice, VLC, or like some other people doing this kind of thing, and it's really doing nothing more than drumming up support. Because honestly, if VLC one for like 2 weeks had it up and say, pay whatever you want to pay for it, even though I can already get it for free, I would still try to go there and pay at least $5 because I abuse me some VLC. I truly believe it is the most versatile and most powerful video player in existence by far compared to anything
by a mile.
Yeah. So I would like to support them. I'm too lazy to go on my own and go to VLC.org or whatever, videoland.org, and is there a donate button? Is there a donate button? I don't see a donate button. I'm trying to find a donate button. I'm too lazy to do that.
Yeah.
But if they would publicize it, I honestly think some people would hop on the bus.
I'm with you.
Okay. Now, the one thing I do want to come clean with is if you do go to the page and if you do see the total payments by platform, Windows users do make up more than 50% of the people buying the I'm sorry, let me say this right. Windows users make more than 50% of the money that has came into this project.
Right.
Mac, it looks like they're hovering around 30%, and Linux looks like 45%.
Okay.
I think no. Linux is 25%. Mac looks like 20%, I'll say.
Still, I mean, compared to the amount of users of these machines, that's huge for Linux, even having that much, I think.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, considering they're less than 5% of the total market share.
Exactly.
User base, that to me is phenomenal. And I'll say the top contributor right now put their name down as, okay, you win. And they contributed $2,000.04. It's like there was a couple people like pushing each other to see how far they would go. And $2,000.04 right now is the winner.
So great.
Yeah, I honestly would say if this was me and I just hit the lotto yesterday, I would put in my name as like podnutz.com and donate $5,000. Just because they would see that. I think that's what it kind of is.
Nice.
But if you're
Thanks,
into games, no problem at all. And I would really like playing the games. I'd have time to play the games in. If you really wanted to just put $5 in, I implore people to just put something in. And then you can download the games whenever you want. If you lose if you lose everything, you can go back, give them your email address. They'll give you a new download link. You can download them again later. Get it for family members or friends that might come over, just to keep them busy kind of thing. Oh, my nephew's coming over. Well, now you got the humble indie bundle. You can turn it on and say, have at it, kid.
Exactly.
It's better than them going to Facebook.
I agree. Like I said before, these are awesome looking games.
Honestly, they are. And I'm really being a good husband. I haven't said yes, dear, once.
You could get them for free, Dor.
I know, but I want to pay. I don't want to get them for nothing. Nah, it feels dirty.
I know. No, I'm just saying, what you told me last week about doing the trial and then deciding how much you want to pay.
I know, but I would want to. I know I'm going to want to pay. I'm trying to get money. I'm trying to get money.
All right.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about, it's kind of weird to a lot of other users on a lot of other operating systems. Like in Windows, you have explorer.exe. From Windows 95, run explorer.exe, and you'll launch your file browser. You can download alternative ones like XYplorer is one. It has some extra features, dual pane, ringy dingy, In Linux, it's almost expected that every piece of software you as an end user, you might want to change, customize, try a different one. And when I say every piece of software, I mean even the file browser. What I found was a link on techradar.com. It's the best Linux file managers, 6 of them reviewed and rated. What I'll say about this is I find this funny because if you scroll down this page, you'll see at the bottom where they give the summary, like what's the verdict, what's the version, where's the website. They also have price. They're all going to be free. And this is Linux. And they do give, in my honest opinion, from what I know about these file managers, very honest opinions about what they like about them, what they don't like about them, what's good about them, what's bad about them.
Which one do you use?
Right now, I'm kind of stuck on Nautilus, which is their first one they talk about. They give it an 8 out of 10. Partially because that's what comes default with Ubuntu. I did use one called Rox Filer for like, I want to say 2 months. I literally just blew my laptop up tonight. So I'm going to go back to do some more tweaking. But the one that really interested me,
Dolphin?
No, is the one down further than that called 4Pane.
Dolphin looks like Mac.
Dolphin is Mac. Okay.
4Pane.
Dolphin is the default file browser for KDE, and I think KDE's goal is to be as smooth and polished as Mac OS. That's the one where their user accessibility for users like Jonathan, it kind of isn't there. It kind of doesn't work good.
Right.
They give the appearance of being ultra heavy and fat and slow. It's actually pretty quick, but they want this thick layer of chrome over everything. It's an opinion. I personally am not fond of it, but it's good. I have used it in the past. But the one, 4Pane's the one that kind of interested me, and as you might guess, the default look has 4 panes. On the left, it has a directory tree. Then they have, well, actually on the top, there's 4 panes. Okay. Directory tree, files, second directory tree, second group of files. So it's easy to drag and drop between 2 sets of folders. So it's like Norton Commander, the old school dual pane look at files and folders, but this has
4.
But then at the bottom, what I like is it has built into the bottom a command prompt. So I can, as I'm looking and browsing at files and dragging files from folder to folder, I can just click down there and I can start typing commands.
This looks very usable.
I'm going to give it a shot. Personally, I think I'm going to like it a lot. If you go to the second page of it, that's where you'll see Rox Filer. I got introduced from this one from a guy on Linux Basics named Reg Exorcist. One of the best things about Rox Filer I can say is how absurdly quick and snappy everything is. It is like bare bones, but at the same time, it is pretty dynamic how you can click and do different things. I do like the fact that whether their default detailed view, you know how on Windows you just see file name, file size, date.
Yeah.
That's it. The Rox Filer, you actually also see an abbreviated but very understandable user rights.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I honestly liked and appreciated that, so I didn't have to do any extra clicking to look at people's rights. Of course, this is like what's the best car, what's the most attractive person in the world kind of thing. It's all touchy-feely, subjective.
Right, exactly.
So I highly encourage people, if you want to play with these different file managers and you don't want to mess up your system, you can go to edubuntu.com/weblive and play there. Or B, if you have Ubuntu, you can try going to the power button in the top right and then going to guest session. I didn't really talk about that too much in the past, but that's a restricted guest mode that doesn't affect the actual operating system. And if that doesn't work, you can always just boot to a live CD.
Of course.
And you can try to install these there and just play with it. I highly encourage, if you're not sure about what these file systems are, what they can do, different things, don't install it on your production device or you might get a little mad.
Okay.
It happens to the best of us. Like when I tried to do some stuff on mine tonight.
What happened to yours? What happened to yours in a nutshell?
I downloaded a pre-release of Ubuntu 11.04.
This is a Dell XPS 1210, right?
Dell XPS M1210, yes. I tried to download, I did download Ubuntu 11.04 Beta 2, I think. Installed it. It installed. Unity would not load. It would actually freeze. One of the dirty tricks in Linux, okay? And I mean any Linux, going back to 1991 kind of Linux. If you're in your main GUI and then something either locks up and doesn't act right, even if your mouse doesn't move and you think your computer is locked, oh man, I have to hold down the power button. No, you don't most of the time. If you hold down Control and Alt and go like F1 or F2 or F3 or F4 kind of thing, you will be presented in a alternate session, the best way I can explain it is, imagine if your computer really did have a monitor that spun around, okay? By hitting those keys, you're literally going to a different monitor.
Okay.
You're still accessing the same computer, but you're accessing nothing that's active on that other monitor. So it can be deadlocked. It can appear to be 100% deadlocked. You hit Control Alt F1, you're at a terminal. Now you're always going to be at a terminal when you go to those alternate things. The thing was locked and it was frozen. So I went to that, logged in with my normal username password. And then the command I typed was sudo sudo space init space 6, which basically means reboot the computer. So I didn't have to hold down the power button. I didn't have to worry about possibly damaging my file system or damaging files by doing a hard power off. Even though the computer was completely locked in Unity and I couldn't do nothing, I could still properly shut down the computer.
So when you booted it back up, it still was all messed up?
Well, by default, when you go to load Ubuntu 11.04, as soon as you click your username and start to type your password in, at the very bottom, there's a sessions menu. And that sessions menu is like, what type of environment do you want to log into? For instance, in that menu, there's even safe mode. There's recovery console. Give me 1 second, Steve. Yeah, Bill. You're supposed to be in bed, buddy. Come here. I know you want to tell me something, but you're supposed to be in bed. Yes, sir.
In my white folder, there's a white paper and it says toilet.
No, it doesn't.
Tomorrow it is.
Okay. You could have told me this tomorrow morning. Okay?
Remember to see it.
I promise. Now, can you please go? Now, look. I know the only reason you came down was because your TV turned off, didn't it?
Yeah.
Aha! You gotta go to sleep, okay? Please make sure Danny goes back upstairs too, because I hear him stomping around. Okay? Okay, go to bed. Make sure he goes upstairs too, okay?
Okay.
Sorry about that, Steve.
That's okay.
I turned the movie on, and I knew when that timer went off and that TV turned off, I knew he was going to be down here. The wife's at work still, or else she would have cut him off.
It's okay. It was cute.
I love the boy. Lord, I love the boy. Okay. I don't even know where I was at, Steve. Okay. When you go to log into Ubuntu, click the username, start type. Whoops, don't type the password yet. Bottom session. Session is literally a different environment. Recovery console is just that. It's only command prompt. Safe mode has lower driver settings and that kind of thing. When it first time it froze, when I rebooted my computer, it changed itself to say Ubuntu Classic no effects. So I just clicked on my username. I saw that all changed by itself. So I just started typing my password, hit enter, and I went into what looked like old Ubuntu.
Okay.
So it basically monitored itself and it saw that this went boom. So it tried to fix itself. So, of course, I say that's not good enough. I want Ubuntu Unity to work. So I tried downloading different NVIDIA drivers. No help. Tried to do a little bit more tweaking, didn't help. Tried to download the open source NVIDIA drivers, didn't help. So then I said, let me install GNOME 3, which is the other desktop that looks a lot like Unity, or Unity looks a lot like GNOME. They look alike is what I'll say.
Right.
I downloaded that one. Look, first time I booted it up, freeze. Went back into Ubuntu Classic, went to the additional hardware menu option off the GNOME menu, removed all drivers, period. Rebooted the computer, went into GNOME shell, it loaded.
Okay.
Parts of the effects that it was trying to do went a little bit slow. Like it always wants to fade in a window and fade out a window. My guess is it should take like a half a second maybe for it to fade in, fade out.
Right.
And it went... I could like see it take like, I would say twice as long as it should have whenever it tried to do an effect. But when it wasn't trying to do an effect, it ran perfectly fine. Well, I wasn't happy enough. I tried to install a GNOME 3 theme. And when I rebooted the computer, the screen was black with a little gray box off on the side. And when I hit buttons, I saw it was trying to do stuff, but nothing really worked. So I kind of blew it up. Which is okay. I'm going to install something else.
Just gives you an opportunity to do that.
Yep. And that's the honestly, to me, the beautiful thing about Linux is I had my home partition on a separate partition. So it would be like having a C and a D drive in Windows. Only my D drive is like routing all my documents and settings folders or my user folders for Vista and 7 to this secondary partition, which means on that primary partition, I can blow it up all day long, install whatever operating system I want to install. During the installs, I do a custom partitioning. And what I say is, okay, on this first partition, install my operating system. But this second partition, that's where I want home to be mounted. So my home folders on a separate partition. So for instance, I install Google Chrome. The first time I launch Google Chrome, it's like the last time I shut it down. All the tabs open up right. All my history is there. When I install Pigeon, and the first time that I launch Pigeon, it already has all my users, already has all my groups. So that's where like all my personal settings get stored. So I can reinstall, and I'm still back up and running quicker.
I see.
You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like doing a backup and restore, having my home partition off separately without having to restore it.
No, it sounds smart.
It is, and it's one of those things. I don't encourage new users to try this. First, just get comfortable with running the operating system, installing applications before you try to do separate partitions.
Right.
And there are plenty of tutorials online to show you how to do it to a system that's already up and running. So it isn't like you have to redo your whole system to do this.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just one of those little things I think is very cool.
Awesome.
On to something else I think is super cool.
All right. What?
Okay. I use Nautilus most of the time. It's my file Manager for this other reason. The right-click menu in Nautilus is very, very customizable. Okay. I can make it to when I right-click on an ISO file, I can say, this is an ISO file. I can make it to when I right-click on a zip file, it says this is not an ISO file. As the layman, so it's really customizable. At these gnomefiles.org, which it looks like it's not working for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up.
Yeah, what this is I can tell you about it. This is a collection of scripts that it gives you a decent step-by-step on how to download the script, unpackage the script because it's in like a zip file, copy the scripts to a certain folder in your home folder. It's like .gnome/config/gnome2 something. And you basically copy these files into that folder. The key is they have to have the right permission. So you got to go right-click the file, properties, permissions, and make sure they have the right permissions. But without any extra really software being installed on your computer, the actual download for this, I want to say, is like 400K at the most. And when I say 400K at the most, I don't mean, well, no. I mean, like, at the most, it's probably closer to being like 40K. All it is a couple text files with commands in them, like the guy who was asking about advanced bash scripting.
Right.
All these files are bash scripts. One of the things they have in the beginning of the file is the ability to take a arrays of files or folders. So when you right-click on one file, when you right-click, that file name gets passed to this script. If you have more than one highlighted and right-clicked, all those names get passed to that script. And what these scripts allow you to do, amongst other things, is convert virtually any audio format to any other audio format. Convert any video format to almost any other video or even audio format. So if you had a FLV file, you could save it as an MP3. Convert almost any text style format to any other text style format. So you really could right-click a .txt and save it as a RTF.
I see.
Document. It also has an ISO convert, which I'm not completely sure about. And because the site is not working, I don't know what it does, but it's cool. But here's the thing. On other operating systems, to do this kind of simple conversion, no one will even think of looking in the right-click menu if this came by default. Okay, no one. Everybody on the face of the planet assume I got to go and I got to download Convert 2000 Super Pro or something. It's actually built into most Linux distributions, some of these basic functionalities. Now, to do MP3 or MOV, it does require additional installs on most distributions, where if you're running Linux Mint, all that support comes out of the box. If you're running Ubuntu, you install one package and you get all this support. So you don't need to go out and trudge all these sites and all these other things looking for these applications that might do what you want, might not do what you want.
And will most likely install spyware on your machine if you're on Windows.
Yeah, all kinds of crap. And this will also do it with images. I forgot. Here's one of the pluses I really like. I used to use this for images all the time because this would let me highlight huge sections of images, right-click, not only convert them per se from GIF to JPEG or TIFF or whatever. This would also let me automatically batch resize images. So if I could take these 30 images of varying sizes, right-click them and say, make them all 300 by 600. And bam.
Damn, really? What's the name of this program?
This isn't a program. That's the thing. This is just a context-sensitive, right-clickable menu.
Wow.
Which I know makes no sense to anyone. It's just like in Windows, you have right-click and then send to, and then off the send to, you have 3 1/4 inch floppy.
Yeah, I know, but what is the option called on this right-click menu?
It's called whatever you save the file as.
Okay.
So when you right-click, if there's anything in that directory, you'll have another entry on your right-click menu called scripts. And then from that, you'll have sub-listing.
Yeah.
And then whatever you call this script is what it's going to be called. I used to call it master converter or converter because it could convert just about anything to just about anything.
Awesome.
I mean, now granted, there is stuff where it ain't going to work on what's it, the M.264 or whatever it's called.
H.264.
H.264, I could never convert to that.
Okay.
But everything else in the universe I could think of, it worked.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Dor, is your mic all the way down? I mean, when on that mic, does it? I'm getting a little too much gain on sometimes when you're talking.
Well,
but when you started the show, it seemed all right.
Yeah, I think it's because it keeps sliding on my head.
Okay, you're good now. You're good.
Okay. Now, if this site does not come back up by the time the show ends, I will get an alternate link for this type of thing, because this isn't the only game in town. This is just a script. It's hosted at many sites.
Okay.
So if this site doesn't come back up, I'll find something else. But this is kind of the crazy power. And the real reason I wanted to bring this up, there was a guy in the forums who said, I've looked, I don't, I need to find a simple ISO burner for Linux. I replied back, well, if you're using Ubuntu, right-click on the ISO file and select write to disk. It's almost so obvious, no one looks there. And I'm guilty of the same thing. I know the first time I had to burn an ISO in Linux, I went out and installed K3B or something.
Right.
And then, the next time, wait a minute, I don't even have to, I already have it right here. Once in a while, everyone needs to be told about something. Don't be ashamed. I'm the same way. Okay, the next one to talk about, it kind of harkens back to what I talked about 2 weeks ago on Android App Addicts, and it was a thing called Blue Streak, which I still don't think is out yet. And it told you and it was an application that let you run Android applications on your Windows desktop. Okay. This is not the same thing, but this is close enough. What that let you do, that isn't even out yet. It looked like it would let you actually have an icon on your Windows desktop for Angry Birds. And when you clicked it, it would launch some kind of Android VM and Angry Birds. What this link on
PC tips by anu.blogspot.com.
Thank you, because I'm thinking PCTIP. What kind of word is that? Okay. This is actually installing the Android SDK on Ubuntu and running the developer emulation environment on your Ubuntu desktop, and that's how you can load these Android applications. It wouldn't shock me if that Blue Streak is actually nothing more than the exact same thing, but it can launch the Android app in some kind of seamless mode. This will work, has worked. I've tried it myself. If you don't have a touch screen, using Android is a little funky. To try to use the mouse like your finger, it kind of doesn't compute.
Not many people will have touchscreens on their desktops.
I know,
or laptops.
But if you insist on experiencing an application that you heard about on Android, here's a way you can do it on Ubuntu without installing the whole Android x86.
It's really awesome.
Board. Yeah, it definitely works. I did it in the past when I was trying to test some apps out. Then I just got to the point where now I have over 215 apps on my phone. I just install anything. I don't care. But this was cool. This can at least give somebody a basic impression of how Android works.
Right, right.
Okay, next thing I'm going to talk about, I think it's kind of not talked about a lot. And what it is backup utilities for Linux. And I'm not talking about like SyncToy, because SyncToy is a toy. It's not a real backup tool.
Right.
It's something that grandpa can use to sync his pictures from his camera. You know, it isn't a backup tool. Okay. Backup tools actually do much more than just copying files. One of the things they do is incremental and differential backups.
Okay.
Please don't ask me what they are. It's basically like saying, aha, I'm copying your phone. And now tomorrow, I'm only going to copy what's changed on your phone, which means that second day backup is minuscule.
Right.
Compared to the first day. But if you want to do a restore, you got to first restore the whole thing, and then you restore that little partial segment. So backing up takes a lot less space and it's a lot quicker, but restoring can take longer. It depends on how often you do full backups. But good systems make that experience seamless to the administrator, to where you don't have to manually say, okay, restore this, then that, then this, then that.
Right.
It just does it on its own. There are plenty of enterprise grade Linux backup utilities, tools, servers, application services, whatever you want to call them, that I don't think get enough talk.
Okay.
Now, the first one that is enterprise grade in the versatility it has to offer and some of the tools it has to offer. Now, when me and you, Steve, did the show on regular Podnutz with the Trinity Rescue Kit folks,
yes,
guy, one of the things that blew me away, and I don't know about you, was the ability to do what was called multicast.
I remember that. That was amazing.
You know, where basically you have one master computer and I want this master computer disk image to be on these 50 computers.
Right.
Well, all you had to do with Trinity Rescue Kit was burn 50 ISOs. I'm sorry, no, you could actually burn 2 ISOs. Okay. 2 CDs.
Yeah.
Boot to the one CD on that computer you want to be cloned to every other computer. And you set it up as the distributor or the server. And then you go to each of one of those computers, boot to the other ISO and say, this is the secondary or the guest in this cast. And then it would actually spit the disk out. So you could use just those 2 disks. Of course, you would use more to 50, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're saying.
And it would, at a phenomenal rate, clone that computer to those other computers. Well, CloneZilla, the latest release, just got released like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
It has this built into it. So now in CloneZilla, you can do unicast, just one to another, or a multicast, one to many. And what I believe CloneZilla supports and Trinity now supports is Pixie enabled booting, which means when you say on that master computer, okay, this is going to be the server, it's really a server. It's a Pixie enabled server, which means if any other computers on the network support Pixie booting, you don't even have to boot to a CD. You just do that Pixie booting, and that basically BIOS level client will scan the entire subnet, which is a thing built into the computer, find that Pixie server, and automatically ask you, do you want to start this clone out?
That's pretty cool.
That is really cool. CloneZilla, I do not think gets enough credit. It is ultra, ultra powerful, and it does take a little bit of playing with, I'll say.
I think that's why it doesn't get enough credits. It takes a little playing.
It does. And like redo backup we talked about on the like 2 casts ago, Clonezilla and that tool actually use some of the same back end engine. So Clonezilla is focusing on versatility, not ease of use. So download ISO, play with it on a couple test boxes or test disc. You will be very happy you learned that tool. Okay. Now for the real stuff, the kind of stuff that would make Matt Ray a little giddy is actual enterprise server, desktop user, automated backup serving solutions. On this page on itmanagement.earthweb, which is actually a site I came across a couple times, only because I remember this goofy looking guy, Matt Hardy, because he writes apparently more than a couple articles that I read. And the tool I want to focus on, they have actually a couple here. Bacula, which, come on, the name rocks.
It does rock.
Bacula is a true enterprise grade tool. Manda I know about only because I'm 99.99999% sure this was developed in the state of Maryland, actually at the University of Maryland, and its goal from inception was free open source tool. But the one I'm going to focus on for a couple seconds is called Mondo Rescue.
Mondo.
Which I got to say again, I'm sorry, it's a great name. If you look at the screenshots, you would not like this, Steve.
I'm looking at them now.
This is very ugly system, very light. Now, here's part of the reason it's so ugly.
Oh, it has ASCII drop shadows.
I know. I know. Here's part of the reason it's so ugly. That means it has to include 0 video card support, which means there's a whole level of complexity they do not have to worry about.
Right.
All they have to worry about is 80 by 24. Everything they ever do is going to be 80 wide, 24 long. I kind of know those numbers for a reason, because I programmed in that for a couple times in the past. Now, if you go to the about page, because the pages itself might not appear to be professional.
It doesn't look horrible.
It doesn't look horrible, but it doesn't rock with professionalism.
No.
And it doesn't look like something that's super high-end and powerful. I'll say that. It almost looks cartoony,
yeah,
the overall website. But if you go to the About page, on its reliability section, it basically says this can do backups to CDR, CDRW, DVD-R, DVD-RW, NFS, hard disk partition, boom. Okay, it's used by companies like Lockheed Martin, Nortel Networks, Siemens, HP, IBM, NASA's JPL laboratory, which anybody knows that's important stuff there, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and dozens of smaller companies. Okay. Everybody should have heard, even if you're in over the pond, you should have heard of most of these companies before. These are not small, inconsequential companies. Okay.
They're monsters.
They're monstrosities. And Mondo is used at all of them, maybe not in as the master backup, because all companies actually have multi levels of backups. There's never just one backup. There's always like 3 or 4 backups.
Right.
This is used at those establishments partially because of its flexibility. Now, Mondo is comprehensive. It supports LVM, RAID, EXT2, EXT3, EXT4, JFS, XFS, Riser FS, VFAT, and can support additional file systems easily. Just email the mailing list. So honestly, they right there not only make it sound flexible, but they're open to people asking them to do stuff.
Yeah.
That's really good. It also supports RAID and non-RAID and software RAID and hardware RAID and all these other things. And I'll say this is freely published under GPL v2, which means I can tell you now, part of the reason those companies like that, what it means is they can take the source code and move to Mars. And they don't have to contact some guy up in some office whose actually phone was routed because he's over in the Philippines, who's calling himself Bob for support. What it means is them as companies can support it themselves if they want to. They can go to almost an endless amount of contractors and say, we need support with this. And they'll say, well, what's this written in? Well, it's on GPL2. Here's the code. I don't even know it's written in. And they can say, well, it's C++. We have people who can do C++. We can support this for you.
Right.
So it really means it's open-ended. They're not relying on a company to stay in business. They'll be able to use this themselves.
And
it's free. And because of its generic look, it also means it's going to be very future compliant. It doesn't matter if it's PCI Express, PCI, AGP, ATI, NVIDIA, Intel graphics. None of that stuff matters, which helps make it supportable, I'll say.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of tool that really businesses need to look at. And I'm not just saying it because I'm a Linux guy. Other companies, big time companies, use these same kind of products. There are more of them even for home office kind of things. If you're interested in backup at all, I'll say go check out these tools. The only other one I'll throw out there, two of them. Time Vault. Guess what it looks like, people?
A vault?
No, the crappy Mac time machine.
Time machine.
Right. And then there's GR Sync, which is, I'll just say, silly powerful. Okay. I went a little bit longer on that topic than I wanted to actually, but I'll say, here's the real reason why I stayed on that for a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a article at ctoedge.com. I don't know how credible this website is, but I've heard this on more than a couple fronts, on more than a couple places. So I do believe its authenticity. This wasn't done on April 1st.
I was going to say, Dora, that's what you said about Lady Gaga.
I know. Don't remind me, Steve. I'm the maven.
I know. I didn't remind you till now.
Okay, good man. But what this is there's basically a lot of professionals and a lot of forecasters, especially from places like Forrester, where if you do not know what Forrester research is, it's basically made its money off of being an independent, unbiased company that can come in, look at your company or look at other businesses or environments or anything and give independent results on what they think they see. Many companies, when they want to be good and they want to be big and they know they're good at what they do, they ask Forrester to come in, look at how their place is set up and rate us. It's kind of like Lisa Simpson on The Simpsons, where she's like, grade me, rate me, judge me. This is kind of like what Forrester's best at. They believe, looking at all the numbers and looking at everything that's going on right now, they believe there is going to be a shortage of Linux administrators in the world today. If you hang out in the Podnutz forums under Linux distros and tips, I believe. No, it's the Linux is better, I think, thread. At one point in time, I linked to two little things. saying what the average pay is for a Windows administrator and the average pay for a Linux administrator. I believe it was something to the effect of Windows administrator $68,000, Linux administrator $78,000. If someone disagrees that Linux administrators don't get paid more money, whatever, sure. I know too many people in the business. They also tell me Linux administrators get paid more money. And Forrester's saying there's going to be a shortage, which only means they're going to get paid even more money, okay, in the near future. I'm not telling anyone, stop what you're doing in Windows. You need to learn Linux. What I will say is, if you have the opportunity to learn Linux administration, jump on it. Take it. And here's the whole reason why. If you have not heard the term cloud computing, I don't know how you got a hold of this podcast, okay? Cloud computing is everywhere. Everywhere you look, on every topic of everything imaginable in the world today. Cloud computing does not run on Windows servers. There is no Windows cloud computing experiment, even if you believe their website and you look at Azure, that ain't cloud computing, okay? What that is, it's more along the lines of web hosting, okay? Right. Cloud computing is truly taking applications and functions and putting them on the internet to where your computer is more like a thumb terminal, right, kind of like on live service, where basically you just put in information, data, whatever, and it sends it up to the cloud. The cloud does the crunching, the processing, and sends back down the result. I truly believe, especially with the push of the Chrome OS as kind of like an indicator, we are going to have even more and more and more and more and more functions and services on the internet doing these cloud crunching. A good example, YouTube, just another rev of their web video editor. If you have an account at YouTube, you can upload a video. It will convert it to FLV, and then via the web page, you can edit your video. This is, again, nowhere on the face of this universe is this kind of computational things being done on a Windows server. Yeah. Period. 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 There is going to be a shortage. Hear me now, believe me later. Blah, 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 blah. People, I'm just saying, if you get the opportunity, jump on it. Take it, grab it by the horns.
It's good advice. I'm convinced.
And you can think of cloud computing. Now, I don't care if people say, well, think about clouds. Clouds mean it's not a good day. What?
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
I'll tell them to put the pipe down, back up, pull a Nancy Reagan, just say no. Just say no. Because it's money in the bank. Everything that goes around comes around again. You know, bell bottoms are hip again for some people.
Yes.
Go figure. Okay. Sticking with the Linux administrator kind of function, there's a very good article at linux.com. And the real thing I liked wasn't the actual article, even though it was written good, but it's this article called Build Powerful Linux Firewalls with Firewall Builder. Okay, and no, live mesh isn't cloud computing either. I just had to say that real quick. The real thing I like about this is not some application where you can build a firewall via a GUI and it only fits on one application. What it actually, all this is a graphical overlay that will fit on multiple firewall solutions.
Okay.
So what you can do as a Linux administrator, you can set up your VM environment, use this kind of tool, take what's outputted by this tool to a well-known firewall application like IP tables, and you can save that output, go into the enterprise environment and say, well, yes, I can configure your firewall, and you just put that configuration file in their enterprise grade IP tables firewall, because once again, no good firewall is on Windows. this tool makes it very comprehensive for anyone who understands the basics of what a firewall is. Now, granted, not everybody does, but if you do know what the basics of it is, ports, allowing, disallowing is the basics. There's definitely more to it than that, but this actually puts it in a manner that if you understand routing and ports and all this kind of thing,
right,
you can very easily create a very nice set of them rules, and then basically take the output of it and put it into a BSD or Linux-based firewall. This is the kind of thing why I believe Linux is doing good, because the idea of a lot of these firewalls are open framework to not only open sourced, so other people can come along and make tools to sit on top of them to make them better.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing, even if you are a home user, I encourage you to just glance at this, at least take a look at it, because you will see some of the weird, crazy stuff you can do on your own home network.
Okay.
Including setting up time rules like, hey, I'm sorry, it's 8 o'clock. The firewall says you can't go to Facebook. It's time for bed. You can try to throw your hands up with that kind of thing.
Pretty awesome.
The next tool is really truly for the home user, and there's a built-in utility in Ubuntu called UFW. I always want to say UFC. UFW, uncomplicated firewall. All it is a command line application with very few commands of, open, close, block, allow. It's very short and to the point. Well, there's a GUI application called GUFW that if you are overwhelmed by the command line, and I understand anyone new to this system can very easily become very quickly overwhelmed. This is a very little application, very nice application. You can very easily enable or disable or allow or deny specific ports. Now, say, no matter what your operating system is, I don't care if you're on Commodore, well, maybe not Commodore 64. I don't care what operating system you're on, but if you're taking your device into like mobile hotspots, like Starbucks,
right,
McDonald's, City of Venice, whatever, you better have a software firewall on that device, okay? To take any device into a public area without a software firewall, you really are asking for nothing good to happen. Granted, you'll probably, in all likelihood, be perfectly fine. You know what I mean? The odds of you actually getting bitten aren't great.
But they're greater.
But they are greater than without these pieces of software. So that's the easy way for someone to just hop on, easily enable, disable, block, or allow stuff very, very quickly.
That's pretty cool. Very simple.
I know, and I really wish Ubuntu did come with a basic GUI for their firewall, but they don't. So most people believe there's not one installed by default because it's not off the main menu.
But there is one.
There is one.
Interesting.
Okay, next thing I want to talk about was on Ubuntu.uk. And this is like a little screenlet. And I just wanted to mention it because I think it looks really crisp and really clean. It's actually called Orb Clock. And it just puts a little clock of a different style right there on your desktop. Very easy and simple to read, in my opinion. The hour, minutes, and second are 3 different colors, and then right beneath it, it has like CPU, RAM, Wi-Fi stats, and your upload-download throughput. This is the kind of GUI goodness, I think, that can make it easier for users to understand what's going on.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Next one I'm talking about is actually kind of referencing back a couple weeks ago. We talked about Fang Office, F-E-N-G.
Yeah.
And I just thought that's real quick. I really didn't give Zimbra enough credit in the past, partially because I know Yahoo bought them and I don't have much hope for them. But I did go look at the product, and I gotta say, Zimbra, I mean, like Outlook Web, what was it called? Outlook Web Access, OWA.
Yeah.
Quite poo-like and proprietary in the fact of, if you're not running on Windows with Internet Explorer, you lose so much functionality with that product.
Poo-like.
And nobody in their right mind actually runs Internet Explorer. Even if you run Windows, you don't run Windows Internet Explorer. I don't care. Okay.
So what does Zimbra do?
Zimbra gives a very Outlook Web Access type experience for Zimbra. Now, Zimbra is basically a competitor to Exchange, and in fact, it's kind of a competitor to Outlook as well, kind of thing. Okay. It's a free, I believe, open source server that can do many tasks, actually a great many tasks. Their website doesn't do very good job of screenshots.
Yeah.
So I also put a couple screenshots in there. The email interface utterly rivals everything I've seen in Web Outlook Access, whatever it's called. I was very pleased with what I saw from it. Honestly, so pleased. I would really like to install it somewhere in my house and just play with it. Beyond regular basic email functions, and when I say basic email functions, I actually mean kind of advanced email functions. It also offers like Google Docs like experience as well, where you can actually edit shareable documents from this. So if I'm at my small business, I could basically in this application create a doc, share it with Bob down in purchasing, edit it, and then here you go, Bob, and Bob can edit it and share it out again. So because I don't know you, but documents and email kind of suck. To have a centralized place where you can actually access them and edit them, I think is better.
Sure.
Also, the calendaring tool in this, to me, looks like it also does more than just rivals the Outlook calendar. Now, calendaring, I'll say, it's almost like a very low fence. Okay. It's not hard to get over the fence at all. Calendaring is not demanding. You have tasks, you have reminders, you have repetitive tasks, you can invite people, and not much more. I mean, it isn't that hard or complex, but a lot of calendaring tools suck and are horrible. This looks very, very on par with what I expect in a calendaring option.
Right.
I honestly am kind of shocked at what I see, and yet the lack of talk I'm hearing about this product.
Right.
And
it looks great.
It honestly, to me, it's the kind of thing, if I did have a small business, I cannot see myself not using this product.
Right.
Okay, give me 1 second, Steve.
No problem. Just pulling up a screenshot of it. Running from Firefox. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I like better about non-Microsoft products. Besides, they're not Microsoft. This application will not curse you and make you suffer if you're not on the exact browser they want you to be on. I like that because I don't want to tell my hypothetically Mac user, oh, well, you can't run Internet Explorer. Sorry, you're not going to get that drag and drop feature that you had at work. No. With this, you'll get a lot of the features that you are accustomed to in any browser.
Good. That's the way it should be.
Absolutely. Next, I'm going to talk about real quick. This is why everybody who loves their Windows operating system really needs to thank Linus Torvalds. Okay. There are so many things that have been introduced since Windows 98, I'll say. and up that would not be introduced if it was not for Linux existing. Everybody in this universe has to believe a very generalized term of competition is great for the end user. Granted, there are places where there is not competition and there's still innovations made, and there are companies still doing good. But in the computer world, it's been proven when there is not great competition, there is not great innovation.
I believe it.
Okay. No one in a Windows only world can even comprehend the idea of a live CD or a bootable portable live environment that gives you every feature you have in your regular desktop. We have the Windows PE, the BART PE, the Ultimate Boot CD for Windows. They're Windows-like, they're not really Windows.
Right.
They give the illusion of being Windows-like, but if you actually get into them, there's so much lacking that you can't do in those systems. Windows 8 has already kind of let it leak out that there is going to be what they call a portable workspace. The name is just a joke. This is a pen drive installation of the operating system. You will have to have, what a surprise, a 16 gig thumb drive. 16 gig! We just did a fresh Windows 2008 server R2 installation, okay? Without doing a single Windows update, doing the base install, it was 20 gigs. I'm like to myself, what, does this thing make me coffee? Is it gonna help make world peace? What? No, it's just an operating system? Oh, well, why is it so big?
Right.
Okay. For Windows 8 portable workspace, you need a 16 gig thumb drive. That is, to me, absurd. But you're going to be able to install like an installation to a thumb drive, go from computer to computer and boot to that thumb drive. And you'll basically have a portable live distribution.
Wow, it's a first for Windows.
I feel very safe and very comfortable with saying if the Linux community did not exist and if Linux Live CD and the Linux portable environments did not exist, there is no way on God's green earth this would exist in Windows. They honestly feel like they have to keep up because I do believe Ballmer has stated he does believe the desktop environment is fading. And I think this is a scratch at the post to try to keep up with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's about time. It is really about time. Linux has had it now for 4 years, 5 years. So, what a surprise. They're going to only be, 4 years late.
Yeah, that's usually what they do. Usually that or later, and it never catches on for Microsoft.
Well, and of course it's going to blue screen you whenever you put it in the something system.
Right.
Okay, next two things I wanted to link to were actually from the podnutz forums. First one is by IISJman07.
IIS, he must be a Windows guy.
I know, I didn't want to say it. But he posted in the Linux applications in the software forum, and it's ESET Nod32 releases a client for desktop Linux. I'm very amped about this because I like scanning infected Windows disk from outside of that infected operating system.
Of course.
Which means I'm running it from Linux or from a bootable CD.
Right.
Bootable CDs don't seem like they are tremendously quick. Sometimes they can take hours and 8 hours and 10 hours to do a single scan. And I really do believe it's because they're from a CD. Running it from an actual native install of Linux, I'm going to say has to be faster. Now, I will say this is not a true free version. ESET on the Windows side, as everyone knows, is a paid product. You can download and get a 30-day trial of this. So what I would highly encourage, if anyone wants to do this from a Linux system, is first go ahead and install it on your regular desktop, and then when you're done, uninstall, and then when you need it again, try to install it.
Right.
I don't know of anything that really could be left behind, but if it is left behind, I'm sure in the Linux world, people are going to find it really quick and tell you what to delete if you want to renew this 30-day trial. A lot of people were asking, why is this on Linux? I thought you didn't need antivirus. Kind of don't. Every Linux AV solution I have ever seen really does spend a large percentage of its time, and almost the whole definition file is really searching for Windows viruses.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Because me as a Linux user can go onto a Windows share and copy a file. I as a Linux user can get an email from an affected user and save that Excel document with the embedded Flash in it. And Flash is often exploitable on Linux. I will say that. As often as it is on Windows, it is as often on Linux. The two most heavily hit vectors for Windows infections right now, Flash and Java. And Java's actually number one. So having those vulnerabilities on Linux, it does scare me, but I still use Flash. Okay, next thing I want to talk about, actually, I think the last thing I want to talk about, it's that thread in podnutz forums called Why Linux is Better. It's actually up to 5 pages. It got so long. And it's mainly because there's been a couple guys really posting ultra smart points and topics about, well, people need to stop acting like Linux is perfect. It isn't. This sucks on it, that sucks on it kind of thing. Yeah, right now there are no viruses, but there can be,
Right.
And most of what they're saying is ultra valid and ultra true. What I'll say is I got this posting from Kiosk Man. Yeah, Kiosk Man. It's actually linking to a guy's video. Now I'll say, the guy who's talking is the most annoying host on a podcast I've ever heard in my life. Now, there's plenty of podcasts I have never heard. I listen to over 60 a week. By far, without a shadow of a doubt, the most annoying podcast host I've ever heard in my life.
And still they ranked higher than us on iTunes.
I'll say this right now, okay? I technically still listen to their podcast because in the end, they are smart. But they kind of flaunt it a little bit too much. Why, yes, I am smart. No, you're actually not, because you think you are.
Right.
There's a difference between having acumen and being smart. And if you're really smart, then you know the difference. Okay. This guy, for 2 years straight, basically went to Linux conferences hosting the same exact topic. Why Linux sucks and how we can fix it. Now the Door Geek subtitle, because I know everything. Okay. What he says makes some very, 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 very valid points about what are shortcomings to Linux. And I've said from day one, Steve, Linux is not perfect. Linux is not the operating system for everyone. Nothing is perfect. No operating system is perfect. It is impossible to meet everybody's needs, ambitions, and goals on every, it doesn't happen. Okay. I will say, like, one of the major shortcomings that he said that I agree with is the packaging system in Linux sucks. What he means is, on Windows, for instance, if you go to install an application, there's only two two types of files you ever come across. There's a .exe and there's a .msi. Those two files are different ways of packaging applications. Okay, on Linux, in packaging, on the sense of the package management system, you have .deb, you have .tar.gzip, you have .rpm, you have at least 4 or 5 more, at least 4 or 5 more. What this means is for me to make an application and to make it truly accessible to all of these users, I have to go out of my way and package it in all these different formats, which really means more work.
Sure.
If it was possible and all the planets aligned and there was world peace and no one went to bed hungry every night in the whole face of the planet, and every Linux distribution used the same package management system, it would be much easier for a company to put out Linux software. And, no one wants to, say, well, pick and choose. Well, we only have enough money to really do this much time with this many people. So we can really only do 2 packages. Nobody wants to say that. I will say part of Linux's success is choice and freedom. I'm sorry for the people over the pond, but to quote 1980s TV, you take the good, you take the bad, you put them together, and there you have the facts of life. Okay? Choice is choice. The things that he says make Linux suck are choice. There are different sound frameworks you can use. There's like 5 of them, and certain distributions like to use different ones. And he's saying, no, you need to be all on one. Well, my question to him would be, who the hell are you?
Door's talking about the guy from Jupiter Broadcasting, if anybody doesn't know.
Yeah. Brian with a Y, Lunduke. And he is a smart guy. He's obviously a smart guy. Have you ever seen his product that he puts out there called Illumination Software Creator? Dude, that took some brain cells to put together. It is a very dynamic application where you can go in and via one interface pump out executable code for multiple platforms. I can go into that, make one application. It will run on Mac. It will run on Linux. It will run on Android. That is really good and it's really needed. But that doesn't mean you know how everything in the world should run.
Right.
He makes great valid points, but the same token, just put the pipe down, back up. Just say no is the kind of same statement I have. With choice comes freedom. It's not going to be perfect. If you want something that's perfect, pick the pipe back up and enjoy yourself because it will never be perfect. And if you think it sucks, then go someplace else.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, they have their opinion. You could choose to accept it, whatever you want to do with it. It's check out the video on YouTube if you guys want to know what exactly Door's talking about. Thank you for that, Door. That was very
dude, and that is a good video to watch. I'm gonna tell you right now.
No, thank you for your speech. I mean, it was very good.
I'll say this. I don't know everything either. I don't, and I admit it. I think the stupidest people in the world not only went to college, and most of the people who went to college freak out when I say that. Well, I went to college. And I said, well, obviously you didn't understand what I just said. Most of the stupid people I met went to college, or the stupidest people I've met went to college. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean everybody who went to college is stupid. Are you stupid?
I get what you're saying.
Most of the people I've also met that swear they're smart ain't. They ain't. They're trying to compensate for something else that they know. Brian is obviously smart. He is obviously genuinely intelligent. I don't know about his cohort. He's obviously smart, but I also find it very easy to talk in normal tones and communicate what I want to communicate to other people. And if me talking in normal tones is not entertaining for anyone, I'm very sorry. Please move on.
Okay, I take it he doesn't talk in normal tones.
They can't. They can't talk in normal tones for 2 minutes.
All right. All right, thanks. Let me read an email, and then we got to end off because Podnutz is starting 1 minute ago.
Oh.
Josh says, hello, Steve and Steve. I listen to Linux for the Rest of Us regularly, and Dor hit a note with me when he said that he got home and an update was ready for an exploit that existed that day. I wish I knew who to talk to make a difference here. I don't remember Windows XP doing this. I skipped over Vista, and I have Windows 7 as my Windows 7 laptop as my main computer. I have, and I don't mind having automatic updates active, but MS, in my opinion, shoves these updates down your throat whether you're ready or not. What I mean is you could be doing something, not even aware that it's updated, and if it needs to reboot, install, instead of politely telling you to reboot at your convenience, like Linux does. The only time I've seen it ever require reboot so far is if you update the kernel. It will suddenly reboot the computer on you. How rude. Linux for the Rest of Us is my favorite podcast. Keep up the great work. Thank you. That's from Tech Boy. I experienced that the other day when I was trying to download those videos from you, Dor, and Windows just wanted to reboot, and it just freaking, it's like, it made this, my job like 24 hours longer because it did that stupid thing. I hate that.
And the Windows fanboy will say, well, you can change that. What's wrong with you? Just a simple registry hack. No, the point is it shouldn't do it by default.
Right, exactly. Well, you have 4 hours. You could postpone it.
I know.
All right. All right, man. Awesome show, Dor. Tons of awesome data. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Dor, what would you like to end off on? And where would people find you?
I'll say right now, everybody should go get all of their web domain hosting from podnutz.com/hostgator. If you want to just browse, peruse Windows Shop, podnutz.com/Amazon or podnutz.com/Newegg.
I second that. Thank you very much for promoting them. And where can people find you?
Just peruse the interwebs, search for Door to Door Geek. You'll find me in all different places. Twitter, Identica, Facebook, doortodoorgeek.com, which is going to get that overall any day now.
Okay. I can't wait, actually. Or you could just see him on the street corner drinking a Coke. Or what is that?
Today it's Dr. Pepper.
All right. At least it's not Dr. Thunder. Thank you for buying the original. All right. Thank you, everybody else, for watching and listening, streaming, live, downloading, whatever you're doing. That's Linux for the Rest of Us for today, and we will see you next time.